Hey, man, I ain't even gonna lie, man. Y'all boys be taking me places, dog. Like, here we are, man, in Green Bay on a historic Shadow Lane. Lombardi is right behind us. The stadium's right behind us. People are gonna be right there on the stage tomorrow being drafted, letting their dreams come true. Freddie T knows what it's like to be called in the first 10. You know what it's like to be called in the first 3 rounds. I know what it's like to not be called at all. But this is the pivot, man. Pivot fam, thank you for pivoting with us. Freddie T, man, looking at this draft, right? What is something right now in the lead up that's sticking out to you?
Well, we got Sun in Green Bay. That's one thing that's kind of got my attention. The playoff teams from a year ago, they're going to be the beneficiaries of this draft. It's just wide open. You know, players that kind of fall here and there. If you're in the top 5, top 10, anything can happen. I think those later teams are going to be able to take advantage of, you know, not knowing where quarterbacks are going. You got a lot of cornerbacks. I think still they're deep in cornerbacks, so those teams will be beneficiaries of that. And that's really the one thing that jumped out. There's been a lot of talk about the shakeup in the top 5, top 10, and it's going to be real interesting to see how it all unfolds because I don't know what's going to happen other than the number 1 pick, which is supposedly Cam Ward. After that, who knows?
GM's got to earn their money this year. GM's got to figure it out because there's going to be some hellified players taken this year that's going to be Hall of Fame type talent, but you have to figure out what you need or what you want or what your roster wants and all that stuff. So as it goes through it, like Freddie just said, as they're going through it, as I see you talking on TV all the time, man, it's changing. You don't know. Well, if they take him, then they might have to take him or he could jump and all that stuff. So I think this year is interesting because there's not those top 5 that you know are going to go. You never know what these teams are going to do. Cam Ward is supposed to go first. But I ain't hear nobody from the Titans say that.
No, they said it.
They said flat out going first.
It is done. Cam Ward to the Titans is done.
Is number 1. So now we got 2 through 270. What's going to happen? But I think this year the GMs are really going to have to earn their pay.
You know, to me, the interesting sort of piece of this draft is the Shadur Sanders piece. If you take it back to the middle of January when this process started and we're just talking about the film and sort of placing the players, Shadur Sanders is top 5, top 10 pick. Peter Schrager says today that it's possible that he's not going to be in the first round. Like, don't be surprised if that happens. You know, Chan, the chatter around him, do you find it, or how unusual do you find it that a player of his stature has sort of been attacked in the media the way he has, and now his stock continues to plummet?
I hate that entitled story, report, whatever it was, because I think back, man, you're a starting quarterback. You're a monster. You're out there on that field. He's getting knocked down now. I don't know if Colorado's O-line was the best in the nation, but he's getting knocked around and still having the numbers doing what Shedeur did. I remember there was a very cocky young man by the name of Johnny Manziel. There was a very cocky young man by the name of Baker Mayfield. There's a very, if you want to say it, cocky young man by the name of Shadur Sanders. And he should be. He can play this position. Why were they covered different? Why are people speaking of him different? I see people say, oh, the Deion effect. What's Deion going to do for that man on the field? You have film to watch. You have interviews to have. And now you bring the man's daddy up. His daddy's the reason he's here, from Truth Academy to Jaxson State to Colorado. You should want him to be around because you've seen the success he can have with his dad in his corner. And that's the thing. I don't know if there's a racial undertone to it or what it is, but it's just funny that they're painting Deion, they're painting Coach Prime as a negative, some people are. I think that's a positive. I think if something goes on, you have a lull in the season, I can hit Prime up and say, Prime, holla at Shedeur. I see that as a positive, and I'm seeing people paint it as a negative.
Yeah, I think it's a shakedown. Every year there's always a twist around draft day, but here we are the week of, now you hear all news coming from here, and they sort of put a spotlight on it, right? When you look at Shedeur, he's a kid who, he was the most accurate passer in all of college football, considering the offensive line troubles that they had, poised, under pressure, being able to bounce back, being a leader. They don't see the confidence in the kid. He's just confident. He gets his from his father, and that's totally fine with me. I think the big question is, when you're looking at Shedeur, Are you drafting a guy at the quarterback position to be a day one ready, or just has potential for the future, right? And as a GM, you have to make that call. The person who said that, you got to put a name on those type of comments. That's what I would like to see come out from this, because you hear chatter here and there, and maybe people throw it out there just to get others off of Shedeur. Who knows what it's about? But I think it's a negative light to sort of make those type of negative comments on this young man when, quite naturally, he's just a ball player. All he wants to do is play ball, and he's shown that he can do that, and I think he can do it on the next level too.
And that's the thing too. I think people forget this is a game. If I want Shedeur, I can put out bad reports about him and make people look into it, and some people might fall for the bait. You want to acquire talent, and I think people forget about that other teams can put out bad reports because they want him to drop to them. I think Shedeur is going to go a lot higher than people are saying. I honestly do.
My biggest problem with it is obviously the anonymity of all of the comments and all of the quotes and all of the things that we have had reported, whether it was Josina Anderson around the combine, recently with this quote from an offensive coach who says he's entitled, who says he puts the blame. I watched Shadur Sanders get damn near killed for 2 years at Colorado. And I never saw him berate a lineman on the sideline. I never saw him cuss or scream at a coach. And you're hearing these things like entitled and these little pieces of the characteristics of his personality when we had a #1 overall draft pick get arrested for being orderly and drunk. And we had more people coming out and saying, okay, here is who the real Baker Mayfield is. Don't watch this video. Don't believe that what you saw of him is who he is. He's a good person. He's a good leader. He's this. We had more anonymous people saying those things. Shadur Sanders never been arrested. Shadur Sanders has never been in trouble. Shadur Sanders has never misused his names to the point of taking advantage of people. You have Johnny Manziel, who missed the first game of his last year against Rice for Texas A&M because he was suspended. You have Johnny Manziel, who ended up getting a whole documentary about how effed up he was away from the field, but there was no anonymous talk about him. There was no one coming out and saying Johnny Manziel isn't a good person. Johnny Manziel is entitled. Johnny Manziel has an alcohol issue. And so to me, the way that Shadur Sanders has been covered seems purposeful. It seems that there is some sort of intent to slander or defame. All of these conversations could be taking place behind closed doors, as they do for so many of these people, and kept there. But why him?
Right.
It's for the clicks. It's because the name will bring people to your page. The name will bring people to your show. And it's sad. Like, it's sad that he's being used this way, but he has to find a way to take the lessons from this. The lessons from this of what his name means, the lessons of this of how you block out the noise and continue to perform. This kid is going to be ready from a maturity standpoint when he walks into the building. Now, what the GMs should be thinking about, and executive scouts and coaches, is when will he be ready physically to play the position?
And I think a year from now, we'll be hearing a whole different tone when you're looking at a big last name, because the Sanders name in football is a big last name. When you talk about next year, possibly, I believe Arch Manning will be eligible for the draft, correct? Mm-hmm. I really believe that when they speak about him, that tone is going to be, well, he comes from great stock, from a great background, from a great family, which is all true. Yeah. There's no mistake about it. But are you going to draft and judge this kid by his talents and what he can do for your team, as opposed to all of the other outside noise, which is what we're getting from the whole coverage of Shedeur? So
well, there's the one thing
be on standby.
The one thing we know is it's not entitlement, or you're not entitled if you manipulate the top of the draft to go to New York instead of San Diego. Mm-hmm. You're just using the power that your name has earned. And so we know that that's seen differently. My last thing to ask y'all before we close about the draft, if there's one pick, one player, one team you'll be paying attention to, or one thing you'll be paying attention to, what will that be?
Listen, I know what gets clicks, as Fred was saying, and you was talking about you try to get people to watch your show. I know quarterbacks and I know cute receivers, and Genty's going to be a monster in the league. I know, because that's what people want is points. Abdul Carter is better at his job than anyone else at their job in this draft. That's what people don't talk about. Abdul Carter is going to be Micah Parsons all over again. And let me throw another couple. That boy from Alabama, Jahad Campbell, bro, he's about to be a Pro Bowl linebacker walking in. Will Johnson from Michigan, he didn't give up a touchdown in 2 years. So all you ball watchers, and I'm not talking nasty.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
The people that just want to touchdown. Listen, there are defensive players in this draft that are going to be rookie Pro Bowlers. Abdul Carter's leaving Jahad Campbell and Will Johnson. I'm telling you, them boys can play ball.
Yeah, now I'll be quick, man. I've prayed a few times, man. Remember we sat down with Travis Hunter and I had said Duval, and it might not happen.
Hey,
look,
he'll be gone.
We could, man. See, don't throw me off, man, because that's a 2-for-1. We all trying to figure out if you're gonna be DB, receiver. I don't care, man.
Freddie, Cam at 1, Abdul and Travis 2 or 3. That's
I understand, but praying is powerful, brother. You never know, man.
Prayer is powerful, but it's hard to pray over other people.
And I mean, at 5, man, the Jaguars could get antsy, or maybe even just make a decision to go up. I think they got their leverage to be able to do that. They certainly can use him. And again, they can also sit back and wait on Mason, putting him in the interior. But that's just my wishful thinking, my draft day excitement. So, anything can happen. I just said it. Anything can happen in those top 5 to top 10 picks. So I'm going to stand by to check it out.
Yeah, I think the thing I'll be paying attention to is if the general manager and coach of Cleveland can save their jobs.
Who saves their job?
I don't know. That's the thing. When your owner comes out and says, we have to fix a big swing and a miss on Deshaun Watson while he's still in your locker room, that's a problem.
Wow.
That's letting you know that your decision-making, the conversations you had were wrong. Now, how do you fix that? That money is still in that locker room. That player is still in that locker room. You've admitted that failure. How do you fix it? Is it we trade away the second pick and we get more draft picks, pick a quarterback late in the first round and add around the team? Is it I pick Travis Hunter and I get a quarterback early in the second round? They have to figure out a way to fix what they broke on purpose. And to their credit, at that time, many people thought he was the second best quarterback in the world the last time they saw him play. That changed. And so to me, it's how do you fix that? And then whether it's he's drafted, he gets an undrafted free agent and signs a contract, I'm excited, man. This year Jordan's coming out in the draft. His first birthday was on the Saturday of the 2002 draft, my draft. Wow. I was freaking making hot dogs and cutting cakes and running around with kids. And so to now fast forward to this year and he has that opportunity. I'm really excited. I'm not nervous. I feel grateful. I feel blessed. And we'll see, how that goes.
You had hot dogs at a birthday party?
Yeah.
Glizzies.
It's hot dogs. It's for kids.
Glizzies.
It's for kids, guys. Hey, we got more for y'all this week. Show drops Friday. We'll watch the draft, talk a little bit about the things that are going on, and we'll have some more stuff for you. Pivot fam, again, thank y'all for pivoting with us.
Peace.